Star Trek Discovery Season 4 has roughly been out for a year already, and I have just now gotten around to watching the whole season. And I have had plenty of issues with this show for the first 3 seasons of the show. Check out the whole video that I did on it where I pretty much just laid out all my complaints about it. So going into Season 4, I was not excited to watch it at all. I just kind of watched it because I've seen every other season of every other Star Trek show pretty much ever made. So here I am watching Discovery Season 4, and I'll be honest, I am pleasantly surprised that it has improved a little bit. I'm not putting it in the great category or even really the good category, but it's better than the dumpster fire that it was for the first 3 seasons. After all this time, it feels like the show has somewhat of a direction, and for the most part, this show is a lot more positive than it has been throughout the first 3 seasons of the show. Yes, there's a potential end of the universe disaster happening in Season 4 of Discovery, but throughout the run of the season, it's a lot more optimistic and positive than, say, the first 3 seasons, and it's not as insufferable. This season definitely fleshes out the characters a lot more compared to the first 3 seasons, and it's not as dependent on Burnham. Don't get me wrong, she's in almost every scene, but this season, a lot more than the others, allow other characters to kind of share the spotlight with Burnham, and it honestly makes for a much better season. I think the 3 biggest improvements of Discovery for Season 4 is it's relatively more optimistic, there's a lot less crying, and I'm sad to say this, but I really do think it was an improvement to the show, was Tilly leaving the show. Now, no disrespect to Tilly's actress or anything like that. I'm sure she's a great person, but the character of Tilly never really brought anything to the show, especially the last couple seasons, and her leaving the show honestly helped the show improve, and it gave time for other characters to grow and develop and become overall better characters. Losing Tilly's kind of nervousness and indecisiveness really did help the show overall. I think she's in 5 total episodes out of the 13 in Season 4, and she leaves, I believe, after episode 4 of Season 4, and we don't see her again until the finale. And honestly, that stretch without her being there was some of the best episodes I've seen for Discovery. Again, no disrespect to the actress or anything like that, but just the character herself being gone really did help improve the show. I think some of the best episodes of Discovery that I've ever seen were just basic Star Trek episodes where Burnham and the crew are just trying to evacuate certain planets and helping imprison people and stuff like that. I really think that's where Star Trek shines, and this is the first time Discovery's kind of tackling more basic Star Trek stories, of course with an overarching premise, but still them kind of tackling a more episodic episode. It was great to see. It really was. Again, I'm not putting any of these episodes in a top tier Star Trek category or anything like that, but it is improved upon the first 3 seasons. And probably my last improvement and complaint I want to give Star Trek Discovery Season 4 is the character of Adira. Now, you can feel however you want about that character. I'm not a huge fan because that character is very similar to Tilly, a lot of nervousness and being unsure and just kind of all over the place, where I just don't think that really brings a lot to the table when it comes to Star Trek. That character being in a scene, it doesn't detract from anything, but at the same time, the character really doesn't bring anything to the table. And usually when that character was gone, I felt like those were the strongest episodes after Tilly left also. So without Adira and Tilly, I felt like the show had a lot of room to breathe and really deepen characters that we know of, but not maybe know enough about. But without a doubt, I do think Star Trek Discovery Season 4 is the best season of Discovery. So I am hesitantly optimistic about Season 5 of Discovery when it comes out. I'm not expecting much, but at the same time, if they kind of continue in the same direction that Season 4 was in, at least it'll be enjoyable enough to watch. I do think on IMDb that Discovery has some pretty rough ratings for this season. Only one episode even has a 6 rating or better, and that's episode 12 called Species 10C, and that was a pretty decent episode. Roughly each episode somewhere between 5.4 and 5.8. That's kind of the average of every episode of Season 4, and I do think that's a bit harsh. I would probably put Discovery Season 4 in the solid 6 category, ranging from a 6 to 6.5 depending on the episode. It is a much improved season of a show. Again, I don't know where Season 5 is going to go. Hopefully it continues in the positive direction, but we shall see in the future. I think there's been too much damage done to the show that it's ever going to really become great or even have a real fan base, to be completely honest. I would be really shocked if Discovery gets more than 5 seasons. It might get a Season 6, but I think it needs to wrap up with Season 5. Just kind of cut your losses, have the last couple seasons be pretty decent, But beyond that, I think they shouldn't try to push the envelope too much with this show. But I guess we should kind of touch on some of the characters a little bit more. I do think Burnham is much improved. She still has her usual flaws. For the most part, she is a improved character overall. Sonequa Martin Green plays her a little bit better, I feel like, this season. There's not as much whisper talk. There's not as much crying. And again, that could be some of the writing choices and whatnot, but I'm just talking like her playing the character. I feel like she plays the character a lot better this season. A lot more confident. Still in season 4, it feels a little awkward how she's such good friends with Saru. I think Saru was also really good in this season. I think he's honestly the best character throughout the entire show's run. He's been the most consistent and best acted and best written character, without a doubt. Tilly leaving was a highlight of the season, without a doubt, for all the reasons I said earlier. Stamets and Colbert pretty much progressed in the same way that they have the first 3 seasons. Adira, I already went into what I think about that character. And then the rest of the bridge people, like, was it Reese, Awoshikun, Detmer, and a few of the other characters, they grew a little bit this season, more than they have previously. And funny enough, I really do feel like they made it a point to say all of the characters' names way more this season than they have, which I kind of found it funny because that was one of my major complaints about Discovery seasons 1 through 3, is how they never said the characters' names and we never knew who they were. Ever. Where this season it felt like a real point that Michael Burnham was always saying their names, like always saying their names, which kind of got a little silly, but at the same time, it really hammered home what these characters' names actually are. Book was another main character for this season. We saw a lot of Book. He was fine. I have no real love or hate for Book. We'll see what they do with him in season 5. Well, those are kind of my general thoughts on Discovery season 4. Is it a great season? No, not by any means, but is it much improved compared to the first 3 seasons? Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Star Trek Discovery definitely did improve. Again, wouldn't put it in a great category or even good, but it's better than the yikes category of being horrible from the first 3 seasons. It's the first time that Discovery actually kind of felt like Star Trek with their main crew, not with Pike and the others showing up to make it feel like Star Trek. So that was a lot of fun to see. I'm glad that they just did a better overall job with this season, and I'm hoping season 5 continues on to be a decent Discovery show. But with that said, what are your thoughts on Discovery season 4? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to check out my other Discovery video, and I appreciate you watching. Catch you in the next one.